Good morning, sunshine. It is me, Sunny, and today I'm gonna take you on a small tour of my small closet. I wanted to share my process for picking makeup combinations to match clothes. So we're just gonna dive in and pick a few garments to discuss, talk about a little color theory, maybe put on a look. So if that sounds interesting to you, then I guess you should just keep watching. And if it doesn't sound interesting to you, that's okay. Bye! Okay, so when I'm not doing like monochromatic, super matchy-matchy looks, I like to take elements from garments and pick the like non-dominant color to wear on my eyes so that it just brings it all together. In example, this little Wrangler Western blouse. When I wore this, I picked the teal shade in this to wear as a graphic liner and did a little inner corner color with red to kind of tie it together. But that's how I chose the color scheme for this. This gorgeous fine art print silk blouse, which I picked up from Planet X Vintage, an amazing, inclusive, queer-owned online vintage shop run out of Portland, Oregon, my home. I wore this blouse with a blue to match this blue and a rusty kind of orangey shade to match this. So if I wanted to be like obnoxiously matchy, I probably could have picked like this color, but I like to like dig into the depths of the garment and find little things to just really make it all tie together. A fun example of how to take a plain garment and have a blast with it, I took this orange shirt once upon a time and paired it with a yellow hat. This is not the yellow hat that I paired it with, but I do have this yellow beret on hand. And these two combined, I just did this like sort of sultry, sunshiny eye with orange and yellow and a deep maroon, and it was fun and gorge. By the way, if you don't have these closet organizer things in your life, you're really missing out. When I moved into this space, I was a little concerned about the size of my closet because I've got a lot of clothes, but these, wow. Another way that you can kind of look for inspiration in the world around you is by paying attention in grocery stores and like when you're shopping at a retail place or whatever, the color combinations that big companies use in their branding. Because sometimes they're things that you wouldn't necessarily think of. Sometimes they're gonna conjure like weird vibes. Green and yellow for me, I'm always like, Subway, with like purple and yellow. For a long time, I could only think of LA Lakers, and I don't even, like, I could hardly even tell you what LA Lakers represents, like, probably basketball. Anyway, there's these things that are just kind of ingrained in us, and that is the branding and the marketing of it all, but draw some inspiration from the world around you. If you see a color combination in nature even that you just think, oh wow, like these flowers juxtaposed against this moss is just so divine. Replicate it on your eyes. Be one with the colors of the world. All right, let's dig into a little makeup, shall we? Priming with KVD Vegan Beauty Shake Primer. I like to keep this trusty fan at my station. So I don't quite know how to explain this logic other than makeup intuition, But occasionally I will set primers depending on how they feel. I feel like the Shake Primer by KVD, like it dries down nicely, but there's a bit of a tackiness, and I'm always a little worried about eyeshadow like sticking and not blending well with that. So I'm taking my All About Matte Fixing Powder, whatever, it's white powder, from Essence, and just tap, tap, tap. This is a Wayne Goss face brush. I believe it's called the Airbrush. I really like it. Okay, I made a decision. We are gonna start off with the Book of Magic Beauty Bay palette with a base shade first. This is called Vanish. And the transition shade, I'm gonna go in with the Wayne Goss number 17 brush of a lovely little fluffy. The shade that I've chosen is called Elixir. In case you're new to makeup, I just want to mention that after I swirl the brush lightly in the product, I like to give it a tap. Get rid of that excess product so it doesn't fall all over your face. Tapping motions, as we do. So I think I want this look to end up having a sharpness to it, so I'm going to bring the transition shade a little further out than usual. It's gonna look kind of crazy until I finish it up. Just trust me. Now I am going to darken the outer corners and bring that in about 1/3 of the way into the crease with the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. The shade is called Symbol. And the brush that I am using is the BH Cosmetics number 8. It is a sort of small blending brush. I am going to try wetting the brush with this shade. Natasha Denona has these like cream to powder formulas that I'm not that used to, and I think that wetting the brush might bring some bam factor into it. So on the outer portion of the lid, I'm going to close my eyes and I'm just going to smush this product on with my finger. Now, I always keep a moist makeup remover microfiber cloth on my makeup station to do little touch-ups and whatnot. I prefer this over a makeup wipe because it's nicer to the planet. The next step that I'm going to do is just touch back into that Beauty Bay Book of Magic and blend out the edges with that lovely light blue shade we were using, called Elixir. So I gotta say, the Natasha Denona cream to powder formula is kind of crazy. It's so pigmented and so like intense that it's kind of a little challenging to work with. But when you finish, you get the end result is just bonkers. But it's definitely, it takes some practice. Just swirl until it looks pretty. I'm feeling pretty good about the blend. Still work to do. I gotta say, I was not really intending to bring this color all the way up to my eyebrow, so we're gonna fix that later, but moving on to the inner portion of my eyelid. For the inner eyelid, I have chosen a Super Shock shadow from Colourpop called In Harmony. 'Tis gold. It's very much like a little bit of a yellowy gold. On my Hide and Sleek flat shader brush from Beauty Bay. I basically use a flat shader brush to get just the innermost corner, and then I do the rest with my finger, but the tip of my finger just doesn't reach in there very well. Something that I mentioned in my very first tutorial that I will probably mention always, because my eyes are hooded, I don't like to wear upper lid eyeliner very often. I like this shadow to kind of act as an eyeliner because when my eyes are wide open, you just see this little peak of gold, and when I blink, you get it all. Something that I've decided to do after I've put together the rest of the eye is I'm going to use a gold glitter over the top of that gold just to give it an extra pop. I don't do glitter very often, but you know what? Sounds fun today. But for now, I am going to take where the gold meets the dark blue, and just to add kind of a seamless transition, I'm going to use that coconut shade from Colourpop and see if a metallic blue will just make the shimmer transition to the matte beautifully. Using my pinky. I like it, I like it. Next, I'm going to take my makeup remover cloth and just kind of soften out, or well, not soften out, harshen out the edges of the blue. I like to kind of make a cat eye-esque look with my eyeshadow, since cat eye eyeliner is challenging with hoodie eyes. Then I'm going to use some Juvia's Place concealer. By the way, these concealers are huge. And just make a fresh edge. By the way, this is a Pat McGrath concealer brush. I love this thing. And I'm gonna soften out the edges of that with a shiny domed blender. Remember when I asked you to trust me? This is what I was talking about. I believe it's time for the next step. So I played around off camera for a moment and I decided that the Wine and Only palette by Colourpop has the red that I want to use the most. The shade is called Mullet Over, and it's this one. Oh my goodness, my hands are looking rough. I should do something about that so I don't end up getting it on my face. One moment. Alrighty, I'm gonna take a BH Cosmetics V9 pencil brush. It's this tiny baby. And just pop some red in the outer third of my, not waterline, but just below it. And kind of blend that into the blue and hope for the best. With my tried and true Sigma E32 exact blending brush, I'm just gonna feather out the edge. To make that red really pop, I am going to try going over it with a metallic shade called Play to Wine. More blending. Alrighty, off camera, I'm gonna do a little concealer near my brow bone and just tone down that blue chaos, soften up the edges a bit, and then we'll finish the eye. Alrighty, so off camera, I took the E62 cut crease brush from Sigma Beauty with a little concealer and sculpted out the edge along the brow, and then the same shade that I used as a transition shade from the Book of Magic palette, I just buffed around the edges as well. I decided that I am going to use a little bit of glitter primer right in the sort of like inner corner area on the lower part of the eye and throw on Flower Child. Oh, you know what? another Super Shock shadow from Colourpop. It's from the same collection as the other one, so I'm thinking they're gonna go really nicely together. Using the Hide and Sleek Beauty Bay brush that I used to apply the gold, I'm just dipping into that glitter primer on the back of my hand. Using the same gold that I used on the inner eyelid, I'm just going to go into the very corners with a BH Cosmetics V15. It's kind of like a pencil brush, but a touch chunkier. I'm going to try using my pinky because I want a little bit more of an intense sparkle from this. Hopefully it works. Yeah, I like that. So where the kind of gold meets the red, I'm going to dip into that Wine and Only palette again with a shade called Blanc up top. Alrighty, I am going to throw on mascara and blush and all the things, and we'll be back with a finished look. Well, what do you think of the old finished look? I know I am feeling every single oat that there ever was to be felt. This silk jacket from Planet X Vintage with the circus print and the gold glitter on the eyelids and the... Whew. Okay, I'm gonna stop. But you know what? If it wasn't so nasty outside, I would be parading about in all my glory. But there's a pandemic. It's January in Portland. So I just had to bring the sunshine into my own basement. If you're interested in the products that I used on my face, I'm gonna leave them in the description box down below. And until then, I'm gonna see you on Friday and Tuesday and Friday and Tuesday and Friday and Tuesday. From here on out, I would love to hear your feedback. If there's anything specific you'd like to see, I just can't wait to develop this makeup journey with you and you too. Oh, and also you. Oh, thank you so much for coming today. Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's Pat McGrath. Anyway, have a gorgeous day. Stay safe, wear a mask when you're out and about, protect yourself and the ones that you love, and let's just get through this darkness together.